Okay, and your last name is Clowney.
That's correct.
And what is your role here?
I'm the CEO.
CEO, okay. And so I guess just start by asking you what the history of Bull City Cidery is, or ciderworks.
Ryan, who was walking around, I can get him as well, and he can answer some questions for you. But we literally just started making cider in his backyard, so we were both home brewers. He was always a better home brewer. His background science, my background is finance and accounting, so I just kind of like doing it and like drinking beer. My beer wasn't very good. And he had been up in New England. He was working at Harvard Med School for about 5 or 6 years, and then moved down here to start his PhD. And so we just kind of connected and started home brewing. We actually grew up together.
Okay.
So we went to middle school and high school together. And just always kept in touch. And once he moved back to North Carolina, and I was back in North Carolina, we started home brewing. And then, the cider side, neither of us had made a bunch of cider. Then we actually made some cider in his backyard, and it was awful. And then after that, we probably made another batch that was better, but not great. And then Ryan dialed it in and really figured out the secret sauce of how to make good cider.
Yeah.
And so once we figured that out, I mean, we just started the business. But literally, you know, when we were making it in his backyard, we actually used the hand press, which must be in the other room. But
oh gosh.
yeah, it would take us about, I don't know, 10 to 12 hours to make about 20 gallons of cider. We would get bushels of apples, chop them, and then run them through a garbage disposal, and then hand press them all. And then we'd press them as type of apple, and then blend the types of apples after the fact. So it was very laborious, very arduous task, but you know, it's how we figured out how to make cider.
Sorry, go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
Why cider over beer then?
I mean, really, it's just something different. I mean, we totally like craft beer. We still drink a lot of beer. Obviously, support all the institutions around here in Durham and Raleigh and Chapel Hill. But everybody was doing beer. I mean, if you look at this area, and if you look at the state as a whole, and really the country as a whole, there's about 3,000 breweries across America. There's probably 40 breweries just in the Triangle, the Greater Triangle area. So we knew that cider was growing, and when you actually look at it on a macro level for the entire country, cider is the fastest growing category of alcoholic beverage. So taking that into consideration and the fact that everybody was doing beer, we're like, look, there's a market opportunity here for us if we want to be in the craft industry to do this. So let's roll the dice. Let's try cider instead of beer. And it's worked out great. I mean, people love having cider, love having a different option. Obviously, it's gluten-free. That's very important for people who are either celiac, gluten intolerant, or just working paleo diets or cutting out gluten, or just don't like beer. That's the other part of it is, you know, some people just don't like beer. Cider is a little lighter. It doesn't have, you know, hops in every. We do have hop ciders, but on the whole, you don't have hops in everything. It's not laden down with wheat or anything like that. So it's just a lighter beverage.
And what is Ryan's last name?
Bogard, B-O-G-A-R-D.
R-D?
Yep.
Okay. And his role is head brewer, or okay.
Yeah, he's one of the partners, COO, head brewer.
Okay. And what is the difference between ciders that you all make and maybe like a commercial cider?
Yeah, for sure. So there's a big difference. When we actually start, our process is pretty much the same. So they're using pressed apples, we're using pressed apples. Some of the bigger commercial groups might be using concentrates and maybe even water them down. We don't do that. It's 100% pressed apples, what goes into our tanks. Once we pitch the yeast in, we use a different type of yeast. So a lot of ciders are made with either cider yeast or champagne yeast. We actually use an English ale yeast. We like the flavor profile that it produces a bit better. Just easier to drink, and it's not, you know, we don't carb it up as much or anything and try to make it in a champagne style or a wine style. We're trying to make something that's, you know, more of a substitute or a complement to a beer that drinks the same way. So we use an English ale yeast, but then the biggest difference is we don't do any back sweetening. So a lot of the commercial guys, whether that's Woodchuck or Angry Orchard or any of those groups, they're basically going to ferment the liquid totally dry. So what that means is they put the yeast in, let it consume all the fermentable sugars in the tank, and then there's literally no sugar left in the liquid. But that's counterintuitive because you're like, well, that doesn't make sense. It's super sugary and sweet. Well, once they've done that, fermented it dry, they'll add back some level of concentrate or sugar or apple juice or something to give that flavor of apples and sugar back into it. So they're fermenting dry and then doing what's called back sweetening, adding something back to it to give sugar content. We actually stop the fermentation process early by cold crashing, and by doing that, we don't have to add any sugar. We're actually leaving some residual non-fermented sugar in the liquid.
Okay.
So it's a huge difference.
Yeah, definitely.
And it makes something that's more traditional and easy to drink.
Mm-hmm.
When you're looking on a per gram basis on 12 ounces, I want to say Angry Orchard is about 24 grams of sugar per 12 ounces,
Mm-hmm.
and that's relative to our off main, which would be comparable to their flagship cider. That's our flagship cider. That's a semi-dry, and that's only got about 7 or 8 grams of sugar per 12 ounces.
Does it taste the same sweetness, or?
It's not going to be as sweet
Okay.
as Angry Orchard.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Which is a good thing. I mean, I think that's what you've seen in the craft cider market, of people making ciders that aren't as sweet, making it similar to how we're doing it. We're fermenting it totally dry and then doing nothing else to it. I think it's more sessionable. People like to drink more than one of them because it's not so sugary and sweet. So it's just the way we like making it. It's more traditional in its style.
And can you talk a little bit about your brand mission? Like, what is Bull City Ciderworks? Sorry, I keep calling it Cidery.
Yeah, well, that's our Twitter handle, I believe. At Bull City Cidery.
Okay. And what's your mission?
Yeah, so I mean, from our goal, it's like I said, the cider market is something that's growing very rapidly, as opposed to just being micro-sized just within Durham or just within the Triangle. We'd like to take this into a regional brand that's kind of spread throughout the Southeast and hopefully maybe even the East Coast. And then beyond that, our mission is to be the best. What we're doing, we're trying to make the best cider, we're trying to make the best people, and that's what we tell our when we have meetings here with our bartenders, whoever it is the most important thing we serve is not what's in the glass. It's the experience for the customer, right? It's coming in and what is our brand. People like it. It's cool. It's relaxed. It's laid back. It's got its own vibe to it, right? So the most important thing we sell is the overall consumer experience, not the apple cider in the glass.
Yeah. Very cool. And you mentioned distribution. Where can someone on 4085's route get?
4085, exactly. So any of the Whole Foods that are in the Triangle or
Triad too?
Triad too, yeah.
Okay.
Any of the Whole Foods pretty much between here and Charlotte. Total Wines, same thing between here, Winston-Salem, and Charlotte. We're just launching 22-ounce bottles into this month, beginning of February. And when those come out, they should be available at pretty much any bottle shop or some of the grocery stores in the Triad. We're not exactly sure which ones will hit there. And then in Western North Carolina, we'll be going into Ingalls. We're just entering the Western North Carolina market into this month.
Okay.
So the 22 ounces will go into Ingalls straight up, first day when we launch there.
Okay. And those are the tall, like 2 glasses per.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So 22 ounces. A typical pint would be 16 ounces, so it's pint and a half.
Okay.
Roughly. Bombers is what they would be called. Just a bomber. So we're releasing those of off main into this month, and then we're actually working toward getting in 12-ounce format, 12-ounce 6-pack by the end of March, beginning of April. And once those come out, they should be available, more widespread at your places like Harris Teeter, Food Line, your traditional grocers. We're also in discussions with Fresh Market, so hopefully we'll be in there pretty soon as well.
Wow, it's exciting things on the horizon. Any talk of expansion, like in location? Like, are you going to be having other?
That's a big thing with our location here. This is where the new police headquarters for the city of Durham is going, so we do have to move from this location. So we spent a good amount of time searching for a new location within Durham. We probably looked at 15, 17 different properties, probably 2 or 3 of which we got pretty serious about, and ultimately signed a lease right down the street. So the new location will be at 305 South Roxborough. That's at the corner of Roxborough and Dillard, about a block away from the ballpark, right across from where the Hendrick Chevrolet used to be.
Okay.
And we should hopefully be in that location by April timeframe.
Okay.
Maybe middle of April, something like that.
Good to know.
We're in process of screening contractors right now, going through their budgets, and then hopefully we'll select one of them by the end of the month and let them get started with work. We're also waiting on progress from the city of Durham, so that's going to hold up. But all the plans for that are totally done. All the construction plans and everything, tracing plans, mechanical plans. So really just waiting for Durham to okay the plans and then select one of the contractors and get to work. So like I said, hopefully we'll be there in April. When we move to that location, we'll do a lot more R&D and single varietals, research and development type with different ingredients, co-fermentations, funky ingredients, new styles of yeast, things like that.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of fun stuff in Durham, and then we're also adding a second location in Lexington, which is about an hour and 15 minutes west of here.
Okay.
And reason for that, one, I grew up maybe 10 minutes north of there, so I knew some people in the area who were looking for real estate. We got a great deal on the real estate. It's 5 minutes off of 85. It's 20 minutes off of 40. So for your 40-85.
Yeah, it's perfect.
So just great location for us, and it's another market just to go into. But from a production standpoint, it was a large industrial warehouse that we got for very cheap, way cheaper than any rents we could find around Durham. So that's really the driver of opening up the second location there.
And will you brew ciders in both?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. In Lexington, that in fact, like all the 12 ounces, once we move into a 12-ounce format, all that will come out of Lexington.
Okay. And will they be, I guess, the bar area be designed in the same sort of way? Like, okay.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the bar area that we'll have in Durham, we want to keep a lot of the same vibe and charm. People totally dig this. You know, it's kind of the evolving trend that people like industrial chic. I guess people are calling it, or steampunk or whatever. The reality of this place is not that we were necessarily going for that. It was just cheap real estate that was industrial, and that's what we could afford, and we just built it into what we built it into.
That's very cool.
But it's turned out great. I mean, we love the space from an aesthetic standpoint, from an electrical, plumbing standpoint. There are plenty of things that would change about this space, which we'll be able to fix at the new space. But in that space, we're still going to lay it out with roll-up garage doors and things like that, and keep a lot of this type of vibe to it, because that's what people like. We really like what we've built here, so we want to keep it the same. We don't want to overdo it.
And in terms of cider varieties, do you want to talk a little bit about
For sure.
your favorites, or we can just talk about them all?
Yeah,
whichever.
sure. I probably drink the most of Off Main, which is also our biggest seller. I mean, when you look at our distribution network, about half of what is sold through our distributors is Off Main, which is just the flagship traditional semi-dry cider. It's just an easy cider to get behind. It's easy to understand. It doesn't have any kind of weird ingredients in it or any kind of weird fermentations to it. It's just a traditional styled semi-dry cider. And so I think it's very easy to drink, and people can easily understand that flavor profile. I think the hop cider, Smooth Operator, is something that's extremely interesting. There's a few different cideries that have offered a hop cider. I think Angry Orchard has one now. I think Bold Rock either has released it or they're working on one. But from what we've tasted with other hop ciders, they still kind of taste like whatever the flagship cider is for that cider maker. So the Angry Orchard hop cider still kind of tastes like Angry Orchard with a little bit of hops. Our hop cider tastes like hops. We committed on that. We use Galaxy, Cascade, and Citra hops, and it's a very hoppy flavor with no bitterness to it because we're not boiling hops. So it's not bitter like an IPA, but it's very hop forward. That's been an extremely popular cider with kind of capturing the former beer drinker market if they no longer consume gluten, or just kind of a bridge between somebody that wants to change from a beer and they try this and they like it.
So is a hop? What is a hop then?
So the hops are used in every beer that's made.
Yeah.
For us, it's not used in every cider that's made. Only if it's a hop cider are we using it. So we do a couple different hop ciders. One we do is local harvest, and we actually use the fresh hop cones. There are a few different growers of hops now in North Carolina and locally. So this year for the local harvest, we got them from Cardinal Pine Farms in Wilson, North Carolina. The year before, we got them from Three Horses Hop Farm and Farm Boy Farms down in Pittsburgh. Both of those are down in Pittsburgh. But we that one we just try to get some local fresh hops. And so we're taking those literally right off the vine and then putting them in the tank and making hop cider. For the Smooth Operator, we're actually getting pelletized hops from the West Coast just because the style of hops we're using in that one, we don't grow in North Carolina. So we said it's Galaxy, Cascade, and Citra hops in that one. Those are pelletized, so it would be like if you went to your home brew store and got the little packets of hops, that's what they look like.
Okay.
We're just using mini packets of those.
Very cool. And where do you get your apples for the cidery?
So our apples, we get them from a couple different places. When we can get them from North Carolina, we do. And the orchard that we get them from is Perry Low Orchard, and that's in Moravian Falls, up by Wilkesboro, North Carolina. It's about 2.5 hours west of here. And when we either Tylo, the proprietor there, doesn't have any apples because it's not apple season, or we've kind of outstripped what his supply is, we'll get them from New York State.
Okay.
And that's from Mayer Brothers, which is, they've been around since 1864, I want to say, mid-1860s. and that's in upstate New York in Seneca Falls. And so there, it's a huge orchard. They'll press the apples and then just ship them down in a tanker.
Okay.
We're also looking as an additional supplier, not that we outstrip what Mayer Brothers can do, but just as an additional supplier, Peterson Farms out of Michigan.
Okay.
But those would be the 3 places that we actually get apples.
And all different varieties, I assume.
Yeah, we do it with a blend of apples. We do some ciders that are a single varietal of apple. We did a Pink Lady version last year. It was just a Pink Lady cider, fermented totally dry, which was awesome. It's one of my favorites, probably my favorite cider that we've made. We did another one this year that was ginger gold, so it was just a ginger gold apple fermented dry.
Yeah.
But for the most part, everything else that we're doing is a blend of apples, and that mitigates the risk of variation in the product because it's not just Red Delicious or just Pink Ladies or something like that. You've got that blend, so even if there's a mild change in a certain apple or less of a certain apple, it kind of gets blended in the bell curve, right?
Yeah, smart. And you mentioned Ryan who's brewing your cider. How do you all come up with the unique flavors that?
A lot of it's Ryan will just try some stuff out or have an idea of something he wants to try, or I'll have an idea, or one of the other brewers. This morning the guys were messing with something, they made a pineapple cider, like a half gallon of that, and they were trying it out. They worked on a hibiscus orange. But basically, I mean, there's so many different ingredients that are available to us, but the cider is so nuanced, and you can pick up a lot of profile very easily. So as long as you have a good base cider that you're working with, you can do a lot of cool stuff with it. But a lot of it's just kind of things that we think about.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
very cool.
I think one of the best ones Ryan came up with was a shishito pepper. And that was Holy Shishito was the name of that. It was a shishito pepper cider that his wife grew the peppers in the backyard, and we just turned them into cider. And that turned out great.
Delicious.
Yeah, it had a little bit of pepper flavor to it, but as shishitos typically aren't very spicy, maybe 1 in 10, actually has heat to it. It was a really nice cider.
Very cool. And I noticed online that you all had a lot of events listed. I was wondering if you had regular weekly events, like things that people can look forward to every week.
We do Taco Tuesday pretty much every week.
Okay.
A lot of times on Saturdays we'll try, either Fridays or Saturdays is typically when we'll try to do music, but we don't do that every Friday or Saturday. A lot of it's kind of, I don't want to say ad hoc, but we kind of plan. We'll just get a month in advance and kind of plan. Okay, something that we want to do with small cakes, for example, or Gurdam chocolates, or Chew Monster, or something like that. Try to do a lot of pop-up shops. Have food trucks here regularly. Bull City Street Food has been a great partner of ours. OMG Chicken, JP Casino. But I mean, all the food trucks have been great here, so we've had a great time doing that as well.
Cool. And are there any special spring events that you can specifically mention for people to look forward to?
So we will have a big party here when we close this facility down.
Okay, yeah.
The date, we're still working on when that'll be, and then we'll obviously have a huge launch party at the new location. So, and at the new location, we'll actually serve food. We've paired with one of the food truck managers or owners. He's going to come in and manage a kitchen at the new location. So that'll be a great addition. We can have just a regular menu all the time where people can eat at the new location. So that's a very big change and something I think will be great for us. And we'll also have some local beers. I mean, the breweries have been great partners of ours in terms of carrying cider. And our permits that we have right now don't allow us to carry beer. But in the new location, we'll go ahead and permit for malt beverage as well, so that we can carry some local beers.
Very neat. And what sort of style of food menu will you have?
Yeah, more pub food. I mean,
Pub food,
stuff that's very easy to eat, quick eats. We're not trying to put a wait staff in place or do anything that's like formalized dining. More of kind of a food window, if you will.
Okay.
Almost like bringing the food truck inside and incorporating it into the space.
Okay. And I've run out of questions. Is there anything else that you'd like the Triangle Triad community of young folk to know about Bull City Ciderworks?
I think just to know about it, right?
Yeah.
To actually come try it out. I mean, it's like I said from the first question, it's something that's different. In our opinion, or as Ben, who's been working on a lot of our labeling, deliciously different. I mean, it is. We try to make a great product here, but it's something that's different than beer. think it's something that most people, even if they've done a brewery tour, probably haven't been on cidery tours, which we do on Saturdays. I think it's just come out and check it out. It's something different, and surprise yourself, because all the time we run into the situation of people's preconception of cider, because they've had the super sugary sweet kind of macro ciders, and it's something totally different for them. We go to a tasting at a Total Wine or something like that, and they're like, oh no, cider, I don't want to try it. And you're like, well, it's free, just try it.
Yeah.
Surprise yourself. And they try it out, and they're like, wow, that's not what I expected at all. So I think that would be the message, is surprise yourself.
Okay.
Come check it out.
Very cool. And do you mind if I take some photos of your space?
Absolutely not. Definitely take some photos.